electrical engineer. Also, this really is to avoid electrocution on time. Be careful not to step on naked electricity wire or engage anything of business activity with any electrical have. Our customer care on 0708 067 170 and 0700 123 666. Ekedc, powering the quality of life.
You are welcome back. The play remain like I said, you can be sure another very engaging session on the program this evening. And we have what you can, the one you can, a big fish they have, a masquerade if you like. But I'm not going to take fish and a big shot of the unveiled masquerade yet. Or listen to this to background to this topic, and you will that you don't want to miss a second of today's program. Let's listen to background to this topic.
One issue that has engaged attention many Nigerians and successive governments since returning to practice through 1999. It is the issue of sustainable uninterrupted power supply. But it is also one issue that simplified all applied solutions over the years. It is equally the issue of regular power supply. All national office, administration after administration, has made power supply one of its priority full-time. But Nigerians have come to terms with the reality of a huge gap between promise of constant power supply and its fulfillment. It is therefore not surprising that as new ministers assumed office after being sworn in about a week ago, one of the ministers on whom expectation is so high is the Minister of Power, Chief Adebayo Adelabu. Among the posters being raised by Nigerians are, having not been known to be a major player in the power sector turf before now, how will the new minister fare on the job? Will it be another case of so much promise with so little fulfillment? How well armed is the new Minister of Power against the forces that made up previous efforts ineffective? These and other questions we will attempt to provide answers to in today's edition of Ekedc Power Connect.
You are welcome back. You know, I said it that we have a big fish in the house, a big masquerade in the house. Our guest for today is a strong and respected voice in the Nigerian electricity supply industry. He is a researcher, a lecturer, a teacher of the world, and like I've said, one whose voice you don't want to ignore in the power sector and beyond. I want to introduce to our audience a professor of electricity and energy law, Professor Yemi Oke. You are welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Banji, let's start the program right away.
Very well. From the Ivory Towers, ABC, this one is a big one for us. But let me just go straight to the issue. One of the posters that ABC just read is the fact that looking at the pedigree of the current Minister of Power, Chief Adegoke Adelabu, and against the background of the expectations of Nigerians from that power sector, what are your expectations? Do you think you'll be able to deliver, to the expectation and to the satisfaction of Nigerians?
Okay, this is where I'm going to take it. One, I honestly don't envy the new Minister of Power. And I've said it several times in several media houses. Nigerians will not forgive President Bola Ahmed Tinubu if he's unable to fix the power sector. And the reason is simple. Decades ago, even as a governor in Lagos State, he toyed with the idea of getting power sector sorted with the Lagos Enron project that pushed. So Nigerians expect so much from somebody who had experimented decentralized energy structure with the Lagos Enron thing. So the president is has held himself out as somebody who is extremely passionate about the power sector. So if there is any sector that Nigerians will critically assess the scholarship of the current administration of President Tinubu, it is power sector. But he stuck his neck out, trying to get the power sector sorted in 1999 to 2000 during the Enron thing. And he said the federal government played politics with that. Now we add everything. He had the yam and the knife on the step. We have now legislated the decentralized energy framework that some of us have been clamoring for more than 20 years, almost 20 years. Now, that has constitutional backing with the 16th alteration that gives power to state government to make laws in respect of electricity generation, transmission, and distribution, both for on-grid and off-grid. But there is a challenge there. The challenge that I see there is that there will be no excuses on the part of the government now, because if you call it on-grid energy or on-grid electricity generation, distribution, and transmission, look towards the state. If it's off-grid, the state is also involved. So the federal government and state will need to partner, and the partnership is such that must be sustainable, fruitful, and resource-oriented. So let me now flip back to the first question you asked me as to the minister. Honestly, it's a difficult task that he has. I don't really have his challenges. Somebody coming from core banking background, an accountant, somebody who we all, of course, know to be a former deputy governor of the central bank, who had concerned himself with monetary and fiscal issues, monitoring banking regulation and related issues. Now is to drive the initiatives in the power sector. Here is the challenge. For you to drive it well, at the minimum, we will need at least 6 to 8 months to understand the dynamics and operational convolutions of the power sector. The reason is this: you can buy a brand new car, give the brand new car to a crazy driver. It's going to crash the car in a matter of minutes. You can have the best side over there is intention in the power sector. They would drive the process. Educated, exposed, licensed, knowledgeable director or driver. Of course, the velocity, the speed with which the power sector initiatives and reform and business will travel will be at the pace and speed of the driver. Of course, the driver will need to learn a lot from the highway codes of the power sector, to driving, to speed regulation and all kinds of technical issues in the power sector. And power sector is the most convoluted sector. Its economics is convoluted. Its engineering is convoluted. Its economics is convoluted. Its law is convoluted. Its regulatory issues convoluted. Every aspect of it.
ABC, would you allow me to just chip in this?
Okay.
Did the energy sector, electricity fare better? I mean, when we had veterans, people who had rich background in energy and electricity, managing the affairs of that sector as ministers?
It felt slightly better. One, naturally, I will have expected. I'm not speaking because I'm an interested player and a stakeholder in this sector. I'm talking as a Nigerian now, and I have every legitimate right to speak and talk as a Nigerian. This is not politics. The time for politicking and electioneering is gone. It's now time to fix Nigeria and get Nigeria working, particularly the sector I'm passionate about, the power sector. So this is not politics. Nigerians ordinarily expected that we're going to have a knowledge-based governance in the power sector. And that's a question of the leadership of the power sector. Somebody who's immersed already in the hearts and the nitty-gritty of power sector regulation or economics or engineering, knows where the challenges are, knows what to tweak, to fix things or get things started. So it's going to be honest with you, it's going to take minimum of 6 to 8 months for the new minister to understand the sectors. Okay. Because even he's not going to trust anybody, because to him or to all of us, things hadn't worked as expected. So whoever sends memos or minutes or proposal, it will take time to cross check and that's not good. It's not going to hit the ground running as anticipated in the past, unless he's going to run and get himself a crash.
Okay, thank you, Prof. The program again is Ekedc Power Connect, and the station 102.7 Nigeria FM. We'll be back right in a moment after this short break.
Okay, so this is just to douse the whole thing. Then you can hit another question, you can hit another, then after we'll now go for 5 minutes college.
When that is coming?
When I want to ask you that question, no, it will come now.
I just wanted to let you know, so you tell me when you put that one.
ẹ ṣọ́ra pẹ̀lú wáyà tẹlifíṣàn rédíò dvd player gílóòbù tàbí sọ́kẹ̀tì iná tó wà lára ògiri ilé. Bákan náà ẹ má tọwọ́ bọ mítà tó bá bàjẹ́ òun torí pé ikú òjijì ní iná agbénipa. Ẹ̀mí yín sì ṣe iyebíye sí Ekedc. Ẹ pe akọ́ṣẹ́mọṣẹ́ iná mọ̀nàmọ́ná tàbí kẹ́ ẹ pe nọ́mbà ẹ̀ka ìtọ́jú oníbàárà wa 0708 067 1170 àti 0700 123 5666. Ekedp àwa là ń fi agbára fún ìgbé ayé ẹ̀dá tó yanrantí.
Yeah, Prof, like you said, the current minister is coming from a tough, so different, from power. But he's been given his own policy direction. Maybe we take this soundbite from an interview he just granted some days back before we continue the conversation.
Because we are going to tackle all the problems across the value chain. We need to prioritize how and when. My priority will be more on distribution, on ensuring power gets to the average Nigerian. There's no amount of investment, there's no amount of efforts or resources that you put into generation and transmission. If it doesn't get distributed, it's a waste of resources. So we'll start from distribution, try to clear the gridlock. You understand? And ensure that people that need power, they get power. Number two is to also reduce the pressure on the national grid, on the transmission infrastructures. We need to encourage the states to key in into this new electricity bill and make sure the problem is with democracy. So our people need to be sensitized.
Okay, at least we have a glimpse into of the new minister. He is saying that his priority will be distribution. I have two questions for Prof from that. He's now saying that he wants to make distribution focus. What's your own take on that? Then secondly, it does appear nothing is achieved. Is it that the problem is underestimated, or the willpower is not there,
or they become overwhelmed,
or become overwhelmed with the problem? So those are my questions.
Thank you. Let me start from where it ended, saying, thank God we have a new electricity bill. We've gone past that stage. Of course, maybe we'll realize that. We've gone past. What we now have is not a bill. We now have Electricity Act, the law. The law is the law that optionalizes the power sector now. That's settled.
Maybe we can excuse his own choice.
No, I'm just getting that. Because there's nothing to be done now. We have a law. The law is not perfect in its form. There will be needs for amendment. That's not why we're here. We're talking about things. So there's a piece of legislation for him to run the sector. That's one. Two, saying his own priority will be the distribution, and I have my because the distribution entities, they are business entities. What do we have in place to incentivize the business of distribution. You ask the question, is distribution business bankable? When you talk of bankability, bankability is a technical word that denotes a commercial assurance that once you invest in a sector or in a particular adventure, you'll be able to recoup your investment with yield. Who and who now will say the distribution part segment is as productive, as lucrative as to encourage a next door neighbor to come and plunge his money? Because they're struggling. What they met on ground were not what they were promised. I'm aware of that. So we have a lot of challenges. So it's not appropriate now to heap all the challenges and focus only on the distribution entities. 2, I would rather a situation in which we actually de-emphasize the distribution and get them to do a good, the starting point is, where are we in distribution? What are their constraints? We need to study the existing entities, understand their problems, where they're coming from, understand their concern or constraint, and now start to partner with them. 2, a lot of the discourse have said we need to be cross-licensed at the level of the state to do more businesses, to make them buoyant and afloat in terms of profitability. A lot of the discourse will also need to be encouraged to go off-grid in terms of doing small-scale mini-grid stuff with states. Over-centralization of power is not going to help too much, because the discourse now, you know, the way things are structured in the power sector is a lot of technicalities that is involved. Once, of course, we've heard of load rejection. Why would discourse not reject load? Because all those megawatts come at X plus Y amount of naira. How much will Nigerians be willing to pay for electricity they are consuming? What is the state doing about meter bypass, about a whole lot of, I call those petty theft, electricity theft, so many other challenges that the discourse are facing? Before saying you're going to prioritize discourse, do you understand the depth of their challenges? So it's not only the discourse. It's good that the minister says he's going to focus on that, on that harm of the value chain. But then we need to do a lot more, you know, because if you don't understand the depth of the problem, you can't fix it. Well, I'm sure that's not the direction to look.
That's
But
not the direction.
Davis, you also spoke about the mono grid system. I mean, because he referred to it in his interview. But my question about the mono grid, maybe I should just say, is that
is it mono or mini grid?
It's
mono
grid system
now.
Is that we've had over time is believed to be that the mono grid is believed to have been responsible for the problems of the transmission. To what extent do you think the provision of the new act to the states to have their own transmission and distribution network will help in solving these problems?
Yeah, I've always been an advocate of decentralized grid structure, because it doesn't make sense to me as a person to have a federated grid in the 21st century. You know, in some states in Canada, US, you have like 3 to 4 discos in a particular unit. So I've written about it. Those are one of the challenges I have with the old law, Electric Power Sector Reform Act, and right from 2005, I started critiquing the laws, saying the law was not intended as a piece of legislation to operationalize the power sector. It was at best a piece of law meant to bring about reform, to reform. Now that it's been reformed, it's been privatized, we now need a law that operationalizes the sector. That's the law that we have now. And I've said we can't continue having a federated grid in the 21st century. It stifles business, it stifles growth. In the case of crude oil, you have your crude, you put it in a particular pipeline, and the pipeline gets weakened, vandalized, erupted. You're going to have a lot of wastages. So that's why you can't have a kind of system efficiency in that kind of a scenario. So I would rather decentralized grid, state grid, regional grid, hub grid, and disaggregated grid, all kinds of grids, as against having a mono grid. I agree with him to that extent of mono grid, but it's a long way to go. of course, with the discos, it can work things out.
Okay, so much to say.
This may be the time to bring in our listeners.
Yes, we need to bring in our
and
listeners.
maybe should I go ahead and let the listeners know the numbers to call to 0700 1000 102. You have another line here, 090 8285 8887. I guess
okay, someone is on.
Someone is on. Okay.
Someone is on. Hello.
Let's meet you.
Can we meet you, please? Hello. This is Ekedc Power Connect on 102.7 Nigeria FM. Are you there?
Is still there?
It's like we've lost the call. Okay. So maybe we want to ask Prof that what the new act says that the Ministry of Power should come up with national integrated power plan within a year of its enactment. What will you want to see in that national integrated power plan? What do you want to see?
Well, a lot of things I wish to see. I want a plan that is all-encompassing, that takes care of the entire value chain, as against one that will focus only targeting the discos, as if the discos are the reason for the problems or challenges we are having in the power sector. That's holistic in nature. I want a plan that synchronizes with the expectation of Nigerians in terms of decentralized electricity. Now that we have states now being critical players, I want each state to particularize their energy needs, energy demand, and solutions. I want a plan that emphasizes.
Hello, sorry, Prof.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Sorry, can we meet
my
you?
name is Jacob. I'm calling from Ijoko, Isongo Ota.
Ijoko. All right, let's get to what's your contribution?
Yes, I don't know how you supposed to help us regarding our area, because for the past 2 years we have not been having light, and we have been complaining to the government and nobody is listening to us.
Okay, Jacob, you know what? Give me your number. We'll reach out to you. We'll get back to you after this program. Give me your number.
Okay.
So you were in the midst of answering that question. Sorry.
So I said I would rather also, in addition to what I said, we'll have a plan that emphasizes the need for off-grid generation and transmission, off-grid generation and distribution of electricity. I would rather a plan that talks about a whole lot of captive and embedded mini-grid, solarization, a whole lot of package. So I would rather a structure that takes off the national grid so that states can develop at their homes.
As a player in the sector, you probably will have identified some banana peels, that made past efforts not to work, that you want to tell the new minister that he should avoid. What are those banana peels?
A lot, but this might not be the appropriate forum to do that. But the challenge that we have is this. Let me say this so that Nigerians can know. One, it's unthinkable and not acceptable to me, as somebody who knows sufficient enough in the power sector, that Nigerian government has been spending even much more in a supposedly privatized power sector. That's a red spot. That's a challenge there for me as a nation. Before privatization, Nigeria was oscillating around 4,005 megawatts. Nigeria is still struggling with 4,000 megawatts thereabout after 10 years of privatization. This is not distribution. When somebody says just discos, it's not the discos now that will distribute, because they are not the ones generating. It's what we give to them that they generate. We have customers. You understand? So we're saying, come, we've been battling with this problem it's like, I liken it to the telecoms. We need knowledge-based sector governance. Somebody who knows the right thing to do and how to do it and get it fixed. Having 4,000 megawatts or thereabout after a decade of privatization is not acceptable. Spending much more in a supposedly privatized power sector is not acceptable. And these are not problems.
Yes, can we? We seem to have somebody on the line.
Okay, we seem to. Okay, we can. I think we still can.
Let's get to meet you. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, can we meet you? Can we meet you? Oh.
Hello, we seem to have lost that person.
So those are not problems of the discourse, because those are not problems of the discourse. So focusing on the discourse might not be the right approach. The discourse is actually there to help, but how much of strategic engagement are we doing?
The constraint is that we don't have the time. I wish you had 1 hour to engage Prof. I know he's loaded, but time will not actually allow.
We've not even started.
The Electricity Act, for instance.
You just give us that promise before everybody, now before the audience, that when next we call you, you will be around. No. Do we have that promise, Prof?
We're subject to my location.
Don't forget that
I would
he's a professor of law. So
I'm willing. I mean, it's a need for engagement with Nigerians.
Really, there are so many issues outstanding that we cannot really discuss.
Some other time we want to have you.
But we sincerely appreciate your time, sir. Within his very, very busy schedule, he actually took out time to be in the studio with us. We appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, Lord.
And I know listeners at home have gained so much from this session. Yes, Demola, we really have to go. Yeah. It's another edition well delivered, yes. And we really have to pack at it. We need to give those to Ekedc for providing this platform for us, and we thank our listeners too for being part of this edition. My name is Banji Busari. ABC, we have to go.
Yes, that has been the program for today. And next Wednesday is another time.